This opens up a lifetime contract. Marriage. I think marriage is more than what people are leading on to believe, because if you logically think about the concept of marriage and the point of marriage in the first place, which is to procreate, to have a companion and to demonstrate the energetic balance of the universe, to demonstrate, if you're religious, the love that Christ showed to the church, right? It's a symbolic thing. It's not really even anything like it's something that we're representing in the physical about something that we're making a decision on in the spirit, if that makes sense. Okay, so with that said, let me explain from my point of view the conceptualization of marriage. Okay, so typically before, like in the old days or whatever, back in the day, when people would get married, they had to consummate the marriage, right? Or else the marriage wasn't real, right? And from that, because at that time they didn't really understand how conception worked, right? They just knew that if you had sex with someone, that you would bring forth a child, okay? And so with that in mind, when you get married, you're supposed to consummate the marriage and have a child. This opens up a lifetime contract that is now in the physical, in the flesh, right? This lifetime contract is a child to which both of them are responsible for raising and being there for in their parental roles until the child is of age to do those things for themselves. And here in America it's 18, right? Okay. And if you really think about this word lifetime, right? When you look at the structure of, like, let's say the judicial structure, when they talk about giving a person life is like 25 years, right? Well, that's about how long it takes the male brain to like develop. You know what I'm saying? I hope this makes sense. So the point of being in a marriage, now made manifest by the offspring that they both have, solidifies that lifetime contract. Okay, this is about 18 to 25 years, right, of marriage. But people go over that, okay, right? But only because the child would have been involved, and in order to bring that life to a state of viability that it can live on its own, it takes the two of them to be intertwined for that amount of time in order to raise the child. This is why, especially when you have children with someone, that the contract is made physical. You get married, because whether or not, and you can attest to this, whether or not, more times than not, whether or not you guys are on paper, right, you got married, if you have a child together, you are married. You're gonna have to talk to them every day. If you're invested in that offspring that was made manifest. You have to talk to them now every day. You have to work with them. You have to show this person love and respect in order for that to leak through and the child feel it too. Like, there's a lot that goes into, you know, creating that contract in the flesh, right? Again, this is why, baby daddies and baby mamas, unless they're really strong emotional beings, they have emotional intelligence and they have boundaries. That's why they still, go back to each other. Okay? There's that contract. So yeah, but anyway, so this is how I understand marriage, you know, as it were, for the past reasons. I now feel that our system needs to be updated because we no longer need to have offspring, and also the offspring that we have, we do now know about conception and how it works and when to have sex, and we have condoms that we can use and things of this sort. So putting our entire lives on the line in a contract to make sure that we're going to be around to help this child grow up is not really necessary. It's not a thing, if that makes sense. If we don't want to have any children, we don't have to have children. If we, I hope this is making sense. But anyway, yeah, so, but no, the needs of marriage have changed. The laws have changed. And so I think our ideals about marriage have to also change. And the more I think about it, because people, moving ahead in life, like as we evolve, as the generations move on, I believe that the common law marriage was implemented in order to kind of push people into making that physical contract, because typically if you're living together, you're I start to say the F word. You're having sexual relations, and typically children and offspring come from sexual relations. Again, these are during times when people are less knowledgeable about contraceptions and the ideal of having children. We don't need to have children in order to help us, do things like that anymore, which is why they would have a bunch of kids in the first place too. It's because they needed more hands on deck to help them farm and till the land, and we're not doing that anymore. So we're coming to the table and choosing to be with the next person because it's a choice. So I feel that we should update the way that we are pledging our lives to the next person. Like, it doesn't have to be a lifetime contract anymore. It doesn't have to be until death do us part. And in my opinion, death do us part is death of the responsibilities of that lifetime contract. Like, it no longer exists because they are now of age. That's how I understand that as well. The to death do us part. Yeah, death of our responsibilities to this lifetime contract. So yeah, I think that it's time. It's time. I think that marriage contracts should come just the way that they come when you go and sign up for, any type of work that you might do with a government or a company or something. 1-year contracts, 2-year contracts, 4 years, 6 years, And then, if you keep renewing your contract, then you do have a right to a person's pension, as opposed to, kind of treated like retirement. I don't think that a person marrying the next person and then being together for 2 or 3 years and then they get divorced and they get half, That doesn't even make sense. A company would never do that. A company would never do that. So why would we F ourselves into a contractual agreement that doesn't work in our favor if the stuff don't work out? That doesn't make sense, you know? However, we cannot deny that if you have children, that this is an intertwinement, an entanglement. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. That relationship is solidified. Period. Unless we're talking about adoption, giving away the kids. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're talking about adoption and the parent is choosing to never contact you again, y'all are still married. Because you have to work together, you have to have a relationship together. I'm not saying that you have to have sex. No, you don't need to do that. You're already consummated the marriage. You already got that baby. You know what I'm saying? You know, but the connection, maintaining the connection and doing it right, so that the children have a fighting chance of growing up with parents that actually were around, loving on them, taking care of them, and not being pushed away because society says that we are a monogamous relationship having society, and so that means that you have to kick the last person to the curb just so that you can, you know, soothe the insecurities of the new person that you may be with, you know. Yes, there's supposed to be respect. Yes, there's supposed to be boundaries and rules. But the ideal that we cannot give our affections to these people in the support of creating a healthy environment for the children that we have brought into this world, I don't know that I agree with that, because that method is very detrimental to the offspring. So, also, just so that I'm clear, yeah, we are a monogamous society, but majority of the population is practicing polygamy. Okay, and it's involuntary polygamy, and only involuntary because no one's having the discussion. They're just doing, they're going out and they're doing it. You know, look, don't get me started. That doesn't make sense. But yeah, that's what I think. I mean, feel free to tell me what you think, and then maybe we can talk about it.